Consider, if you will, the following scenario, and tell me what sticks out. What the obvious injustice is. There you are, the sorcerer fighting alongside your comrades, hurling the arcane bolts into the side of the avatar of Orcus, as the seeker fires off shining arrows of light and the cleric heals everyone with the power of her goddess. The waves crash against the white sand of the forsaken island of Bones Haunting as lightning bathes a surrounding rot-filled jungle in actinic blue light. The fight is long and atrocious, and you don't think you can hold out much longer. There. You see it, right? You don't. Okay, new scenario. Really focus this time. You tread softly on the ash-covered ground, the parched hiss and radiant heat glowing from the lava a dangerously short distance away. Sweat forms that evaporates quickly and you're going to drop from exhaustion any moment, but not before your sunblade bites deep and drinks of the salamander keeper of the thousand whispers. The jailer of the angel destined to save your country from certain annihilation. As darkness takes you, you note your gnome ally Rogue, lifting the key from a belt as your sword's hilt cooks the flesh from your fingers. Okay, now you've definitely got the right idea. Okay, look, I'll make this really easy. Your blood and entrails splash crimson against the obsidian glass of the ancient caldera's lake edge. Or you feel the bones of your arm bending and fracturing as the hill giant smashes you against the agnorn tree. How about your lungs burn as you sink ever deep, chains hopelessly wrapped around your leg, as the anchor of the Evronoska barge pulls you under to the bottom of the ageless chasm? Really? Look, the injustice here is obvious. Why is it that only the heroes get to go to all the cool locations? When's the last time a villager went past the outskirts of their town to play on a white sanded beach, or dip a toe into a volcano lake, or paddle around the void-filled ocean? And that's why today's video is about how to create the best vacation experience for the NPCs, whether you're working on a shoestring budget or entertaining the local nobility. But first off, an apology for the lack of videos these last few weeks. They should pick up again now. We start in the same town as that restaurant because that whole experience has left the peasantry and middle classes with a thirst to experience what only the super rich can normally afford. There's been a spot of concern as the empire of the Green Tower is moving ever onwards, and a good old distraction is sorely needed right now. But because there are differing levels of finance, there are tiers of vacations that are based on immersion, experience, and relaxation. Experience is how much you can imagine you're actually at a distant locale, soaking out the sun and at a place you could usually only dream about. Immersion is the ability to not only see the holiday but also touch and taste it. We have a bit of a deal with Le Petit Pain Critique, so that the lower tiers can taste class, but being able to interact with the locale can help activate memories of it later. And finally, relaxation. At higher tiers, the person is usually already pretty well catered to, and those at lower tiers usually expect a bit of trouble with their trips and lives, so it's all about picking the right spells. The trick is that you have to play to the client's dreams and expectations. A working class trip, if it happened perfectly without a hitch, filled with adventure and excitement, just wouldn't be believable? Has anyone really had a vacation that went perfectly? No. A vacation is always a break from normal life, while at the same time you always bring your normal life with you. The perfect trip for the client is always a mixture of those three principles. You don't have to have the most relaxing trip if it's fully immersible and believable. We don't have to have the best immersion if the customer walks away having had the best sleep and meal of their lives. And the first step is always to talk to your customers and find out exactly what it is that they're looking for. In this instance, the best person to talk to them is the party rogue, the social hustler. Sure, they can't affect the fabric of the prime material, but they can definitely get the customer to tell them if they're looking to pick flowers in the Alpines, or just get wasted uninterrupted on a bottle of moonshine. So, let's get right into it with the first client. Ted Wright is a shoe shiner and cobbler who has recently saved a bit of coin and wants to spend it on a relaxing trip to an exotic location. His budget is 2 gold, including the food and drink. He's always dreamed of seeing the Razor Edge Mountains to the far south and has a bit of terraphobia, so that has never really ventured far beyond his town. Not even to venture into the nearby woods except on the sunniest of days. But still, he sees those pictures at the town hall of the mountains and wants to experience that sight for himself. Our expert rogue determines all of that and spins a convincing lie with their expertise in deception and persuasion. That such a trip is possible, but that the 2 gold will only cover a day's excursion. That is fine by Ted, as long as he gets a clear view of the mountains. We tell Ted to step into the next room, which has a glowing teleportation circle carved into the floor. It's fine, we tell Ted, the magic is perfectly safe, and he can feel the powerful magical wards that protect him. He steps in, and everything turns a comforting black. In actuality, he stepped into a room with the first 2 spells, Silent Image to mimic the teleportation circle, and Nice Stilled Magical Aura to simulate a powerful tangibility of magic. As Dr. Wright stepped into the room, a sleep spell was cast. It's now time to take him to the simulation room, a 10 by 10 foot luxurious room with a good deal of sound and material staged beyond. There's a chair, a small table, a veranda, and a small cabinet with food and drinks. Add any plants or decorations that you see fit, just make sure it fits the geography. The food is leftovers from Le Petit Pain Critique. Hopefully you have a deal with them, but if you don't, then raiding the scraps from the bins is fine, because you have purified food and drink. Reheat it as needed, rearrange it with some simple tubers and green leaves, and you've turned recycled scraps into the best damn meal Mr. Wright has ever had. Remember to use prestidigitation for flavor, and if the rogue was able to determine a happy memory associated with food, then be sure to use that flavor. Mr. Wright has woken up, and to him it's as though he just stepped from a circle into the strange room. The team in charge of this vacation are around the outside of the house and have to be as silent as possible. To this end, make sure the cleric has the trickery domain. Get them to cast thaumaturgy to rattle a window to get Ted's attention. When he comes close, cast Minor Illusion on the window. Most people think you can only use it to create an object or a person, but a forced perspective painting fits the bill and will convince Ted that he's looking at the Razor Edge Mountains. As he stands transfixed, just cast the spell over and over as the druid casts Conjure Minor Elementals, air. These little vortices will be tasked with zooming around the place and recreating stormy gusts of wind, a pretext of the main event. Eventually, Ted will not be content with just seeing the mountains from his dinky little window, and will want to experience them better. Remember the veranda? As he moves, cast Major Image on the veranda and surrounding area. Again, forced perspective is important, but remember that you can create the illusion of temperature and sound, and the illusion can move. Remember also, this is a painting, albeit a moving one, so make sure the forced perspectives are workable within the 5 by 10 foot veranda. But what if he goes to leave the veranda? Well, in come the howls. Minor Illusion can create sounds, and in much the same way that an image can be made to look 3D and far away, sounds will also need to sound 3D and far away. Growls, snapping of teeth, howls, and rending of claws on stone. And, if need be, coming closer. Mr. Wright's fear of monsters should stop him from venturing too far, but don't overdo it. We want him relaxed. If need be, waste a sending spell, advising him that he's under surveillance and that no harm will come to him, so long as he stays in the day trip cabin. That should be enough. If it's not, a handy suggestion spell should do the trick. Speak suggestions softly and assure him you carry a big stick. When he's inside, continue the minor illusion but add the sounds of a few raindrops on the roof. Get the casters onto the veranda and cast Leomund's Secure Shelter and start dimming the light, as you slowly change the major image to include swirling clouds and howling winds from the elementals and the illusion of rain, inside the dome, but outside the cabin. Go wild with thaumaturgy and dancing lights, simulating lightning and rain. Have fun with it. After all, this is your job. You should enjoy it. Inside, if you do it right, Ted has a view of the Thunder Crash Razorgore Mountains, a nice warm cabin, food with flavoured deliciousness, a bulk of alcohol, and a storm to ride out. At the end of the storm, and it should last as long as you have spell slots, save for the final major image. As it passes, brighten the hues and sharpen the contrast, because the last thing that Ted will see is the Razorgore Mountains, storm-tinged clouds crashing over them, bright blue sky above, and the most beautiful rainbow shining in the distance, the smell of rain and flowers in the air, and the sound of distant thunder. Then cast Sleep on him and bring him back. Cast Modify Memory with the exact same image as before, only this time it will be magically preserved. Cast Protection from Poison to remove the alcohol poisoning. Lesser Restoration because this world house rules so that it gets rid of hangovers. And then remind him that for more gold, not only can he see the mountains, but he can join in an expedition to the summit itself. Mr. and Mrs. Drummond and their 2 children have saved all of the profits and want to spend a relaxing weekend away at a beach. Though they're a merchant family, most of their travel has been in the middling plains, and they've never seen a beach before beyond the alluvial plains of the major river. They've used clever tricks in their accounting to skim 100 gold off the profits before tax, and spending that on a fancy holiday seems to them to be the best way to treat themselves for a hard year's work. The family are first whisked away using an actual teleportation circle to the beach resort location that you've got set up. The teleportation circle takes time but isn't expensive once it's all carved in, so it's no huge expenditure. But lodging, food, and activities would quickly eat into that profit margin, so a lot of the same tricks as for Mr. Wright can be employed here. Children can be pacified using hypnotic patterns and suggestion spells, and the parents can be catered to with small huts with illusions surrounding them. Casters can be more prominent and not so subtle here because the focus is more on relaxation and experience than immersion, and part of what you pay for is staff. So overt casts of calm emotions on both parents and children can provide blessed moments of carefree enjoyment, in conjunction with good berries or conjure animals for the kids. Activities don't have to be as complicated, as children could climb a tall ladder and jump off with featherfall, or be given water breathing in a warm lagoon nearby. Food can be catered with create food and water flavoured with prestidigitation. Also, vodka with prestidigitation. In fact, anything with prestidigitation. When the holiday weekend ends, be sure to cast Contagion on one of the kids, because everyone knows when you get back there's always a sick kid that passes it on to everyone else. It also reinforces how great everyone felt when they were on vacation, compared to now that they're back in their normal lives. Of course, the nobles also want to spend some time away from the difficult world of intrigue and plenty. A panoply of privilege brings with it mental and social responsibility, masks and personas, and these people also need to get away from something to somewhere. For them, they may want to chase their bliss, or practice self-care, or engage in gentle or non-judgmental dreams and pleasures. It's not your place to judge, only to ensure that your business does no harm and makes a tidy profit. To that end, here are a few ideas for the truly discerning noble, aristocrat, or overall powerful person. A combination of gate, mansion, and control weather ensures that an individual can go where they want and experience their perfect weather. It could be a lonely glacial island in the middle of a mirror-sheen lake. Create a magnificent mansion, and they have all the security and solitude they need. If they want sunshine, a storm, hail, snow, or a cloudy, windy day, then they've got it. They'll also have you there to defend them, because the magnificent mansion is large enough that you could have an entire wing to yourself. Heroes Feast, Teleport, and Freedom of Movement, and suddenly you have a low-threat survival adventure, especially if you hit the mischance. Stay with them nearby as a chronicler or fellow adventurer, keep a teleportation spell handy, and your noble can be the wannabe explorer they want to be. Plane Shift and True Polymorph allow the individual to truly live as another on their home plane, meaning if they want to fight in the Blood War, or sing with the Choir Eternal on Mount Celestia, or bargain with the other salamanders in the City of Brass, they can. Just make sure never to go to Sigil, as the Lady of Pain doesn't appreciate people barging in, and can see through any disguise. Penultimately, the noble can wish for the perfect holiday. Make sure ahead of time that their perfect holiday isn't to secretly be a secret agent who has to get out of the double life and return to the neighbouring planet in order to discover the rest of their memories. That never turns out well. And what could be more ultimate than wish? Well, this one requires a bit of prep. You gotta make sure that the noble believes in a nice deity, and that the reward is, reward, and not just eternal solitude or servitude. Ensure that they follow the rules of that deity, and definitely, that they be expected to follow a contract. They pay 30,000 gold up front, sign an indemnity form, and a contract that they swear on their lives and the honor of their deity that they'll come back once the holiday is over. I think you may see where this is going. Cast power word kill. And when the holiday is done, cast true resurrection. It's unclear, but the general consensus is that the afterlife for a good person is eternal bliss. When they come back, the memories are vague, so they shouldn't be too upset that they're no longer bathed in the light of their deity, but they'll still have the memories of having a great time. The return clause means they should return when you ask them to, and the indemnity form means that if they don't, you're not legally responsible. You would think that if that happened, that the business would tank after that, but you may just find that business picks up even more. Nobles are weird. And remember, the 14th level transmuter can turn piles of gems worth 25,000 gold pieces into a diamond of equal value. It was fun working on this instructional video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. But the next time, we're going to be diving into a completely different Mancy. If you liked this video, please show so by hitting the like button and clicking subscribe. And as always, to be continued.